Hello everybody, this is Bobby Mills for theindependent.com for another version of Endzone Online. Chris is behind the camera for us. We're in Hastings at Hastings High today with head coach Charlie Shoemaker. Coach, welcome, man.
Thanks for coming out.
And thanks for having us, man. It's the postseason right now, and usually we do this before the season, but I kind of like this time. So I forgot how many years you've been here.
This is my 6th year here.
Doesn't seem possible, man.
No, I know.
Wow. And I think this question was down the line, though. When you got here, did you have any idea, maybe you did, maybe you looked down the line, that you'd have this kind of a team last year and this year?
Well,
could you see down
yeah,
grades?
when I got here, we moved and Carson was a 7th grader, and so I'd watch those guys kind of grow up.
Well,
And everybody talked about the 8th grade class, and they were really pretty good too, which was our last year's seniors, and so we knew those two classes together would be pretty competitive. They had a lot of good players throughout the 4 years. You know, last year's senior class we lost several throughout the 4 years. They just kind of didn't keep coming out, but this group was one that stayed together, and we told people way back then that this 7th grade group was going to be better than the 8th grade group, and over a 6-year period, obviously they were. So. You know, we saw some things there. You know, I don't know. You never know how that's all going to play out. But you know, this group has really worked their tails off in the weight room for 4 years, and they've stuck together. And I think that's a real important part of the success we've had.
Yeah, and I think I remember somebody saying the 8th grade and then the 7th grade might even be better than that. So you could see it. It's not like down 4th grade. I can see them all over town.
Yeah.
Not like a little school where everybody's in the same. You know. So. Can you remind us who's on your coaching staff, and is there anybody new this year that was not here last year?
Not really. We've got a couple former players that are volunteer assistants, Keyshawn Hunt and Tyler Wiesman. Tyler played last year for us, and they're both going to community college. And Keyshawn, this is his 2nd year. He played 2 years ago for us, and those guys have done a really good job, and they're not afraid to take on responsibility, and you know, doing it as a volunteer, that's a lot of time.
Yeah.
And they do a really good job, and they work with our JV and stuff like that. So, but we've got all the same guys that we've had in the past. We've got Coach Spalla has been with us for since I've gotten here. I mean, I think he might be on his 47th year of coaching, and
what a history!
He says he doesn't want to retire because he doesn't want to be old. So
no,
he just does what he enjoys doing. So it's great having him. He works with our special teams. Brian Hitz is our defensive coordinator. This is his 2nd year of doing that, and he's really done a great job.
He has.
And then we've got Evan Kruger. He works with our offensive lineman, Matt Kissinger. He's a former St. Cecilia kid.
Yeah.
And he's working with us with our receivers. We've got Andrew McCarty. He actually works at the hospital, but he works with our defensive line. And so we've just got then our freshman coaches. We've got a lot of people involved, and they all do a really good job and kind of understand their roles.
How long? I'm surprised. Yeah, it's a good staff, and Andrew McCarty, former GICC guy.
Yeah.
Huh? You know, I can't understand kids not wanting to go out for football because you know how you and I think is that's the greatest sport. But do you think this will help get more kids out?
I think
success.
Yeah, we're starting to see that. You know, I mean, our freshman group had a really nice year, good numbers in there.
Good.
And then the middle school has been successful, and a lot of times they look at, you know, that group undefeated. To us, that doesn't really matter. It's more about, you know, are they staying out? Are they enjoying it? Are they competitive? And, you know, what are the pieces and what are they going to look like in 3 or 4 years? So that's real important.
It is, and it's and you know, it prepares you for later in life. A lot of lessons here to be learned, but there's no better sport. But you know, I think he hit on a good point about just not being undefeated or whatever. It's just staying out and enjoying yourself and taking part in everything. Yeah. What's the ideal number in a school this size out from freshman to senior to you?
Well, this year we've got probably 86, I think, is our final number. And that's as much as we've had.
Yeah.
Ideally, I mean, we would like to be 90 to 100. You know, we haven't got to that point yet, but you know, a lot of that is getting 2, 3, 4 classes in a row that they continue to stay out. That's real important.
Yep.
You know, last year we graduated 9 seniors. This year we have 20, 21.
That's a big one.
You know, so that's a big difference. And then also our junior class has almost 20. We've managed to keep that group together as well. we've got cycles. It's hard to get those 4 years in a row to keep those numbers up. Our sophomore class only has about 14, but then our freshman class we had about 32 this year. So we kind of look at that freshman class. If we're in the 30s, we feel real good that we're going to be able to hang on to about 20 of those.
Good,
Yeah.
good. As everybody knows, Hastings has a terrific quarterback, Gareth Jones, I think. And is it my imagination, or has he bulked up this year?
Oh yeah.
Oh man, when I had that picture taken with him and your son, I'm going, oh,
Yeah,
this
he
guy
looks
is.
a lot different than he did last year, and he looked good last year.
Oh yeah.
And he's still a kid that's in development, I think. When he goes to college, I mean, he still has some room where he can get bigger, and his feet are enormous. I could see him growing a couple inches too. So,
Wow.
so it's been exciting to see all those kids just grow and develop, and they're getting older now and turning into 18-year-olds, and it's just hard. It's hard to view them that way. When I've kind of seen them grow up from 7th grade on, you look at them as a little kid, but they're not that way anymore.
Do they hang out together off like the wide receivers?
There's groups, they're all good friends,
Yeah.
and they all get along real well. They don't all hang out together outside of. There's kind of little pockets in there, but then when they do all get together, I mean, it's like they're just really good friends. So, I mean, that makes practices easy. That makes everything easy with what we're doing.
Yeah. Too big of a school to have everybody,
Right.
hang out together.
Right.
Can you tell me who are the key players on the offense? Besides, I was very impressed with the way Zaid Widener played the other, and I'm going, wow, this kid runs hard.
Yeah.
But there were good holes too
Sure.
to run through.
I'll kind of start with the offensive line, but we've got about 5 or 6 guys that play in there. Justin Musgrave is our center, and to be honest with you, he got hurt at Seward, and we spent about 3 or 4 weeks where we didn't have him. So we moved Ashton Ground to center, and Ashton did a nice job, but it's just Justin's kind of a calming force, makes all the calls on the line.
Wow, that's important.
He's not as big as those other guys that are strong, but he does such a good job of keeping them organized. It's really made a big difference. We had him last week, and so he's kind of our battery there on the line. And then you got Ashton Ground, Lucas Koletich. Blake Davis is normally one of our starters in there. He didn't play as much offense last week because he got hurt 2 weeks before that.
Oh, I wondered about that.
But he'll start getting back in the swing of it on offensive side. We were more concerned with him defensively, making sure he got through the game last week.
Yeah.
And then we've got Isaiah Henry and Landon Jacobus that rotate at guard. They're kind of our smaller guards. We pull those guys a lot. And then Seth Appersbach is our weak side tackle. So, we've got 6 or 7 guys that we play in there, so it makes for a nice rotation on the offensive line. And they're really starting to come together. And like I said, having Justin kind of keeping those guys together, it's been nice having him back. So
A lot of emphasis has to be on pass blocking, but those guys are good run blockers too. And I was very impressed with the openings that Widener had against Northwest.
They're actually better run blockers than they are pass blockers.
Wow.
So we try to.
Wow.
That's why we thought it was so important for us to get the running game going. That just makes it a lot easier for Jarrett and those guys in pass blocking that they can get some more time. So then you go to the outside, Zaid Widener. We were without Trevor Sullivan, who's also, those guys kind of split time. They're not the biggest guys, so we want to make sure we don't load up the carries on one guy.
Yeah.
And you could see Zaid was pretty tired by the end of the game.
Yeah.
Defensively, but Zaid's had a rough year. I mean, he had to quarantine way back in the second game of the year when his mom had tested positive for COVID. And so this was early in the process, and he had to sit 14 days, which ended up being 2 games.
Well, that's tough.
And so, losing 2 games of your senior year, I mean, that's just not fun. And then it took him a game to kind of get back. And 2 weeks off, that's a long time for a kid. So I was real happy to see the game that he had. I mean, that's what he is, what you saw the other night. He's been that way for 2 years. And, I'm glad he's ready to go and doing what he did the other night.
You swear he hadn't missed a lick, and when you're off, like he said, when you're off 2 weeks and you can't do anything, can you? I mean,
right.
It's tough, man.
Yeah.
It's
So
tough
then you got our receivers. I mean, we've got a host of those guys. Braden Cavlich, he's kind of our speed demon down the field, and he's made some really tremendous catches this year. He really stretches the field vertically for us. We've got Carson in the slot. There's just a lot of attention that gets put on those 2 guys.
Yeah.
which opens up Austin now. Austin's plays our tight end spot. He's not really built like a tight end, but
No, he's not.
but he's also faster than every other tight end, and so that's a mismatch that we have with him and Carson in those slot positions. That really makes it tough for people. And then Gareth Jones. Gareth actually got hurt against Aurora 2 weeks ago, and he was playing with a separated AC in his shoulder.
Ooh, I've had that.
And Gareth struggled. He dropped a couple balls. With Gareth, probably has our best hands on our team. He makes every catch.
Yeah,
and
I
then he
wondered.
dropped 2 or 3.
Yeah. So
And I told him, I said, because he was kind of pouting on the sideline, and I said, you're going to catch one that matters more than any ones you drop. And so it was 3rd and 12 or 13 or something, and then Jared does a Patrick Mahomes rolling out to his left, and Gareth makes the play, and we were kind of reeling at that point, but that was a big first down for us.
And talk about a turning point. It might not have been. I thought Carson's 80-yard touchdown. That might have been as big right there.
Yeah, I mean there were just lots of little places like that where we made some plays and made a big difference.
Carson, your son draws a lot of attention, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And that may help open up. Of course, you're not going to leave Braden alone either.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great receiving core, and the defense, man. I was just now it hits hard, and ooh man, were you happy with your pass coverage? I thought,
yeah,
geez,
yeah, it was really good. We wanted our guys to challenge their receivers, because if you don't, against Northwest, they're just going to dink and dunk and
they
hit
will.
those hitches.
Yeah.
And so we needed to challenge those guys, and if they took us deep, we needed to be able to run with them and make a play. They got us once, but when you're playing like that, you're probably going to get a couple on that.
Yep,
so
true enough.
But I thought they played really well. I thought defensive line and our linebackers played very well, put pressure on Hartman and made him uncomfortable, and that was real important.
That Jacobus boy, I thought played a great game.
He's had a great
not
year.
that big, though.
No, but he's 200 pounds, but he's athletic and he's strong, and yeah, he really does a good job, and he plays so hard. He'll make plays on the other side of the field all the time, so he does a great job. He's had a great year.
I told him I could tell you were going to have a good game in warm-ups, and he looked at me really funny. But you could tell when somebody's pumped.
Yeah.
And it usually carries over.
Yeah.
You may not know how to answer this, Charlie, but like last year, when you had a lot of points scored in those last 2 games, you didn't have time to rebound before you went into the playoffs. How tough was it? But you did. Now this, after the Aurora loss this year, you had a week off. Was that a lot easier to prepare those kids? And how do you do that? They must be unfazed by those losses.
I think a lot of times. I think a lot of times it's the coaches have a harder time with it than the players.
Really? Yeah.
In our case this year with the bye week, I mean a lot of it was for us getting healthy because we had lost a couple guys in that game.
Yeah.
We practiced 3 days and gave them Friday off that week that we didn't have a game, and came back Monday and then we were ready to go. So I mean it was nice, and it was a good situation. Maybe every situation is different. I think it just depends on what's going on throughout your team at that point. But at this point in the year, it was a good timing for that bye week for us.
Tell me if I'm wrong. They say that somebody gets beaten really bad. Those kids will remember that for the rest of their lives. I don't know if I agree with that. Kids forget things and roll with the punches and keep going if they're athletes. Do you agree with that?
They're pretty resilient, I
it's
think,
like adults don't forget.
Right. Yeah. I would say, I'd say a season ending, things like that. Those type of things. I mean, those obviously stick with you, but you also know you don't have another opportunity to come back out and do it again. So I mean, I think. That's what kind of makes your team is if you can bounce back from those things, and our kids did a nice job of that.
They did. Who was the most physical team you played this year?
Well, I mean, that had to rank up there, obviously. I mean, Scottsbluff's always physical. Those are physical contests. We kind of jumped on them early, so it didn't get to that point. But Aurora was very physical. But I feel like we've matched everybody physically in every game that we've had, and that's kind of been our goal. We wanted to make sure that we don't get out physicaled in a game, and I think if we do that, we're going to be in good shape.
And then what's the difference between, you coached at GICC, what's the difference between physicality in the C classes up to Class B? I think there's a lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it's a grind. You get into Class B, it's just so competitive every week. You really don't have any weeks off where you can just kind of cruise and things like that. I mean, you got to go out and play well every night, and I mean, you can tell by our district alone that, that was
good
one of the more
grief.
competitive districts in the state, I would say, up top to bottom. But, I mean, it doesn't matter who you play. I mean, we're looking at Ron Colley for our first game. I mean, that's no slouch. I mean,
No.
those kids can play football and they know what they're doing.
Yep, yeah, they've had the tradition too.
Yeah.
So how gratifying has it been to have Carson for 4 years? Man, that has to be great.
Yeah.
Spitting image of Charlie Shoemaker, man. I just love it. And has he ever, I mean, he's been involved since he was a freshman,
Yeah.
before he had a driver's license probably.
Yeah.
Is he pretty cool?
Yeah.
Cool head?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's pretty laid back for the most part. It's been fun to see him kind of come out of his shell a little bit. He always was kind of shy as a freshman and sophomore, but you know he gets more. I don't know if you call it leadership qualities or just excitement out there. And I think a lot of these kids are that way their senior year, and it's the last go around with each other. And so that's been fun to see him grow up, see all those kids grow up.
When's the next Shoemaker due for football?
Well, we've got a 6th grader, and he'll be our last one. So he's
Oh, I
finishing up midget football right now.
I
So
thought there was another one. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. You're gonna
we
see.
got a couple girls. They're in high school right now. They're playing volleyball and cross country. So
Boy.
you know, we got the whole gamut. So
One more, coach. That's, yeah, we don't want to talk to you when that last one's here. So, do you think this team this year is better than your team last year?
it's funny you say that because there's been a, I don't know if we call it a Twitter war or Instagram war with the
Ooh.
last year's seniors
Wow.
and this year's seniors, and so that question actually came up about a month ago between them. Of course, last year's group said, "Oh, our group was better." So then they asked all the coaches, and then our coaches said, "Well, obviously this team is better." So
But that's good. That
Yeah.
it's all in fun, isn't
yeah,
it?
oh
You
yeah,
know, and
yeah.
do
But
they-
yeah, I mean, you just look at the development of this year's senior class from last year, and it's night and day from what they played last year. You know, I think this group has just gotten a lot better from as juniors, from when they were juniors to seniors. So
Well, I think so. I sure saw it last Friday.
Yeah.
So I like the chances this Hastings Tigers have throughout the playoffs or whenever I know. But well, I'm going to wish you the best of luck. I'll see you on the sidelines sometime. You have a home game this week, is
Yep.
that correct?
Yep.
And then if you win, I don't know what happens.
So if Scott beats Northwest, then we'll host Scott, and then if
And then if
Northwest
North-
wins, then we'll head back to
Right.
Northwest again. So
Hey, just take them one at a time.
that's
One
right.
and oh,
And
man.
that's what I told the kids last night. I said, you don't get a chance to play Scott or Northwest or play for a championship if you don't win the first one.
Nope.
I said Ron Colley knows what they're doing. I mean, they're a very proud team, and they're gonna give us everything they have.
I'll bet you this team won't look ahead. You're all right. So hey, sounds good.
All right, thanks a lot.
Good luck, Charlie Shoemaker, Coach Shoemaker, and the Hastings High Tigers. We'll follow them all the way through the playoffs. Good luck to them. I think they've got a good thing going. So for Coach Shoemaker, Chris behind the camera, Bobby Mills for Endzone Online. We'll catch you down the road next time.